When you play video games, do you really have freedom of choice? The Stanley Parable was primarily designed by Davey Worden and was published by Galactic Cafe. The game was first released on October 17, 2013, though its original mod form made its first appearance on July 27, 2011. As the player, you take control of a man named Stanley, who works a boring office job to one day find that everyone has disappeared. You're encouraged to take control of Stanley to look around the office and look for clues and interact with things, but you're not alone. While playing through this game, you'll find that you can walk around, interact with a very limited amount of objects, and crouch, which is only really good for one situation. Now, the bulk of the gameplay comes with the interactions between Stanley and the narrator. While the narrator can't tell Stanley what to do and where to go, you can actually have Stanley ignore or contradict the narrator's narration. This is where the game gets interesting. You can have Stanley follow directions, or not, at least to a degree. For example, early in game, Stanley comes to a set of two doors. Now, the narrator will direct Stanley to go through the door on the left, and you can do so. However, you can also have Stanley rebel and go through the one on the right, which may annoy the narrator and put you on his bad side. Now, the majority of the game rests on the player's decisions to follow directions, or to contradict them, or in some cases to find a third option. Now, there's nothing really grand or great about the visuals in the Stanley Parable. By today's standard, they're fairly par. Nothing great, nothing terrible, but it lets you see where you need to go and what you need to do, and that's really all you need. So graphically, the Stanley Parable is fine in that. My only real complaint is that the game lacks like a center cursor or reticle, which would be really helpful for when you're trying to interact with objects. It is actually strange because there is one instance where a reticle will show up when you approach keypad, but it doesn't show up anywhere else in the game. And I think that would have added a lot, just to put a little center reticle so it was easier. It would be easier to interact with objects, but for whatever reason, it's not consistent throughout the game. I don't know why. There is some background music in this game, but it's so subdued. You will probably not even really notice it that much. It creates some ambiance, but is pretty much non-existent otherwise. The sound effects also are very simple and few, so they repeat a lot, and it's not very interesting or exciting, just nothing very great in the sound department. Although one thing that sound does right is the voice of the narrator, done by Kevin Brighting. He provides just a great voice. He provides that dominance that the narrator needs for this game. And really that's the best part about this game, is Kevin Brighting as the narrator. It sounds great. Now, there are multiple endings in the Stanley Parable, and they can easily be achieved. A mere playthrough just takes a few minutes, really. And the real draw of the game is to go back and play it over and over again to find all the endings. One of the biggest shortfalls to the Stanley Parable, though, is actually the replay value. Yes, there are multiple endings, but if I can do them in a few minutes, I have most of them done in maybe an hour or so. And really, once you've seen all the endings, there's nothing to bring you back to the game, because the gameplay is so limited. You've seen everything it has to offer. You can really only get, 2, maybe 6 hours out of this game at most. The problem with reviewing a game like this, however, is it's really strange given its overall nature. It's less of an interactive medium and more like a commentary on game design, gaming tropes, how gamers perceive what they're playing, things of that nature. For this reason, this game can kind of be alienating to some players. Casual gamers won't really get it. A lot of it will go over their heads. And then for hardcore gamers, the commentary will either be interesting or offsetting or sometimes even offensive. Really, the problem about this is due to the lack of context with the narrator's speech. It's sometimes hard to tell if this is something that the designer believes personally, or if this is part of the narrator's character complex. And it's not really clear whether some statements should be stated as irony, or satire, or actual serious commentary, or just something that's comical, some jesting or something like that. And really, without knowing anything about Davey Worden personally, some of his messages that he's trying to convey, they're just so muddled in this video game allegory. So as a game, the Stanley Parable has really very little to offer, and as a commentary on gaming, it is interesting at times, but only goes for so long. I know that this game made huge waves when it first debuted, and understandably so. It was a different kind of game. There are some good points and good ideas presented in the game, but unfortunately, a lot of the material also comes off as just pretentious or just completely unhelpful. It's not really something that is fully valid in its stances, and I think that those who go back to play it will agree. The Stanley Parable is an okay game, and after playing through it for 6 hours, I'll give it a 2 out of 5. It's okay. If you're interested in this game, there's really 2 criteria I have for you. First, only buy this game if you're strongly acquainted with game design, gaming tropes, everything that goes into making a game or how games are perceived. And second, do not buy the game at full price. It's currently on Steam for $14.99 is the standard price. And $15 is just way too high a price for what this game has to offer. Really, I would only buy it at 50, maybe % off. 75 would probably be closer. That's really where the price should be for this game.